Hello and welcome to this episode of Podium. A busy old week for us, partnering up with London Marathon to announce their elite fields. We hope you've enjoyed the content this week. We had the Brits on Monday, the wheelchairs on Tuesday, and today it's time to talk about the elite women. Today you've got myself, Hannah England and Rich Newman. We waved Katie off to the Super Bowl, so we're not going to feel too guilty because she's going to get some nice sunshine in LA, but we're stuck in Britain in the rain. But we have got some wonderful athletes to talk about. If you're listening to this, you're probably a marathon fan, whether you just like watching it or you like doing your own endurance events. If you are an athlete, you do like training, do check out the Marathon Training Collection from Morton. Morton have sponsored us since June when we started this podcast, and it's wonderful to work with them. They've given us a discount code for our listeners. It's Podium 2026. You can use that at morton.com and get 15% off the Marathon Training Collection. That gives you 2 boxes of Gel 100, one of the caffeine, 1 box of the Drink Mix 160, and 1 box of the Solid 160. Now, Rich, you're much more acquainted with all those Morton products. You've been enjoying using them, and it's just wonderful that we can pass that on to our listeners as well.
Yeah, what a discount that is. What a deal. What a box. What a bundle. And you'll be able to, I think the great thing about it is that you can sort of experiment with what works for you. Some people like the drink, sometimes people like the gel, some people like a combination of both. What will work best for you in training, which will work best for you in the races. And it'll take you through to race day. So yeah, make sure you make use of that. It's a one-time code, Podium 2026, all one word. Any combination works. Caps, lowercase, whatever. Just make sure you type it in there, morton.com, and you'll make sure that you are fully fueled for whatever race you've got coming up. So this is exciting. The Brits announcement on Monday, I think we were pretty hyped, weren't we? And a fantastic reaction as well that we received across social media, and I think I like the graphics that you helped to make there, Hannah, as well.
Well, we have to shout out Will Hartshorn. He's the real graphic king. He's helping us out with those.
But you both need a bit of a shout out. But that was the sort of stage one of the excitement. Great to see that all of the wheelchair athletes that we expect to be in London are going to be there too. But I guess we kind of expected in some ways a lot of those Brits to be there, and we expected all the wheelchair athletes to be there. But who will be on the start line for the women's and men's international athletes? Well, today it's, like you say, it's the women's elites that we're going to talk about, and this is exciting. Where should we kick off? Should we just go through a list?
Let's go. I think the list speaks for itself, doesn't it?
The list speaks for itself.
Absolutely stacked.
All right. Okay. So
drum roll.
Leading the way is Tigist Assefa, the former world record holder, the women's only world record holder. In some people's eyes, the world record holder, her PB of 2:11:53. So she's leading the way. Also there, Sifan Hassan, Perez Jepchirchir, Jocelyn Jepkosgei, Magetu Elemu, Hellen Obiri going for a quick one. And we've been waiting for this to happen. She's going to be there. Really exciting. Tigist Assefa is there too. She's very competitive herself. We'll go through some of the others in a bit. Julia Patinain's also there too. And I almost slipped. We actually did do a we did a record on Monday. And I started saying, we could claim Julia Patinain as one of the Brits.
A little bit, couldn't we? Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, former English schools champion, right? And she did the mini mile as well. And I think we were doing the record, weren't we? And we're very fortunate to have had some of these names in advance, and we had to cut myself out. I'm really good at keeping embargoes. That's literally my job.
I think what's the funny thing about this project and you is like, yes, it's your job. You're very professional, but it's also like you've been super excited. You've been really, really excited about all this. And when I look at this list, and I do this a lot with the track events I work on, when I look at an event and go, hang on a minute, we've got a full podium there. That's exciting. This women's field, you've got the full Olympic podium and the full world champs podium. That's nuts. To have all of them here is just wonderful. And London pride themselves on kind of assembling the best fields and this, that, and the other. And you cannot argue with this women's field. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, we're going to get into it in a moment. But first, we're going to play you part one of a conversation that Hannah had with the head of elite athletes at London Marathon, Spencer Barden, himself a former international athlete. And he is basically responsible for trying to assemble this cast of athletes to try and show that London is the place to be. Don't go to the other majors. You have to be in London. So Hannah spoke to him recently and talked about the benefits that the Brits get from London Marathon, also a bit about the wheelchair athletes, but also we previewed the women's elite field.
London, we sort of tried to spread it over, a 3 or 4 day period rather than just do one big announcement on one day. And that's really because we have such, great fields again, from the British field, the elite men, the elite women, and also, a really strong elite wheelchair field. So it makes sense to give each of those groups, their own sort of platform and day where we can really showcase them, rather than doing everything just on one day. So yeah, and it's months and months of sort of hard work, all those fields sort of being put together, and well in advance of the race, you can really sort of showcase what people can expect to see in London. So it's and the sort of the key thing now is to keep your fingers crossed, and that field or those fields sort of stay together over the next sort of 3 months.
No, and I think perhaps I'm biased as a Brit, but I would totally agree. London Marathon is so iconic, and the history as well that comes with the event. And I think if we lean perhaps on that British perspective, for British athletes, it's such a prestigious race to be a part of, and they're probably the easiest athletes to sell to when you're trying to get them to compete. I'm wondering, sort of for you, Spencer, as a former international, you've been there, you've done it. Do you feel a responsibility with those Brits to kind of give them the best experience possible, kind of the red carpet treatment when they come to London Marathon?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah, we've got the international side, we've got the best in the world. Then obviously we want the best Brits, and we do look after them well. The top Brits we pay, and we pay them well. Where it's different where they would probably get at another world marathon major, and we set the races up for them as well. There's athletes that either going for a British record, if it's say someone like an Emil Carrest, or going for a qualifying standard. So we would put the pace groups. We got the leading pace groups. We'd also put a pace group around the Brits to support them as well. And that's really important. And what we've done over the years, which you may have seen, the Brits that have progressed are now running the marathon. They've paced in London. People like Eilish have paced, and obviously Mo did in the past as well, and people like Emil. So it gives them that experience in terms of what's it like to sort of come to the hotel, get up early in the morning, to get to the start, to go through the whole process, go around the course, take their personal drinks on route, just to savour the atmosphere. So when they come to race, it's not new. They know what to expect, and we've done that with a few athletes, and we'll do that again this year. Jessica Judd is another one that's obviously paced in the past, and obviously she'll be running in London this year, making a sort of a full marathon debut in London, even though she's already run in New York. So yeah, and we do look after them very much, and it's very important that we have the best Brits there in London. And obviously we work very closely with the British Federation to incorporate the trial races, or the British Marathon Championship as well. So all comes together. We have a separate prize structure for British athletes only, in addition to the overall prize structure. So there's every opportunity there for Brits to come to London, experience running in London, but also have the best opportunity to perform as well.
No, and I think that's something that London Marathon events do really well, so nurturing British talent. And that's, through the years as well, whether it's, you can talk about the mini marathon, but there's other events and other ways in which you guys support elite British athletes, and it comes together wonderfully when they make it all the way up to the marathon. I never progressed any further than maybe 3,000.
Me neither. So
we're smart, but when you've got someone like Emil Carrest that managed to get the whole way up into a podium, when you look at the investment that you guys make in elite British athletics, I think that was really nice to watch.
Yeah, no, it is. And you look at the athletes that have come obviously from mini marathon over the years, and based on some of those on the track, and obviously now on the road in the marathon. And there's other support that comes in from London Marathon around the sort of the endurance support, around the talent hubs in both Birmingham and also in Leeds. Over the years, London Marathon's invested in supporting athletes going to the altitude training camps. So you remember, you were part of it when we had training camps in Niten in Kenya, in Font Ramo, many years ago. It was a case of that was London Marathon money supporting those endurance training camps.
No, it certainly was. And if we take a look back then at these fields we've got assembled for 2026, if we work through them, I'd love to know, what are you most excited about? Maybe if we start with the wheelchair athletes and the ones we've got there.
Yeah, look, the wheelchair athletes, everybody comes back year on year in the wheelchair field. So again, the strong fields there. Everybody that is there, that's been there in the past, and they'll come from Boston. They'll be Boston. They're coming from Boston, and they're coming to London. People like Marcel Hoogan and Dave Weir will be there again, and Catherine De Bruyne and others. So you can expect, and I think the wheelchair fields of certainly developed over the last 4 or 5 years. They become much stronger. There's much more in depth, and always very competitive. And I think there's been some advances in the shoes with the elite runners. There's been advances in the chairs with the elite wheelchair athletes. So the fields are evolving all the time, and again, I expect some very competitive and fast races. And they're now challenging course records and world records in London. London is a quick course. People always talk about a Berlin or Chicago or Valencia. There's many world records being set on the course in London. So be it from the elite runners as well as the elite wheelchair athletes.
No, I think they do always put on a show, the elite wheelchair athletes. So let's have a look at the women next, the elite women. What are sort of the head-to-heads, the battles that you're expecting there, you're most excited about?
Yeah, again, I think we've got a really fascinating race. Obviously, we've got Tigist Assefa coming back, our world record holder from last year, a defending champion. Obviously, she finished second in the world champs in Tokyo, and Perez Jepchirchir couldn't run in London last year. She pulled out with an injury in a few weeks before. Obviously, went on to win the world champs, but Perez is coming back to London. She was always keen to come back because she couldn't run last year. So that's going to be a fascinating head-to-head. And then we throw in Sifan Hassan into that mix as well. So, and you never know what you're going to get from Sifan. Anything could happen with her, but she'll be right in there in the mix. And she's, very much now preparing and getting ready for London. So, Hellen Obiri is one we've got coming this year as well. So Helen's, fantastic in New York and Boston, winning there, but she's never been to London. And, those courses aren't as quick as, like a London or a Berlin, etc., Chicago. So it's going to be interesting, can Hellen be competitive with the race? It's, we're certainly going to go for world record pace. We're certainly in that 2:15 range again. Can someone like Hellen be competitive within that group? She's got a sort of 2:17 PB, so she'll need to step up by a couple of minutes to be with those, people like Perez and Tigist and Sifan. So I think that's really makes it, Jocelyn Jepchirchir was on the podium last year. She's coming back as well. So, pretty much we've got everybody there again. And some other interesting stories that Julia Patanane, who was third at the World Champs, obviously British interest, she ran, and obviously in the mini marathon, etc. So she'll be in London this year as well. So making a London debut. And then we've got pretty much the best of the Brits as well. So interesting with Ailish is going to come back and give it another go. I know she was disappointed with her performance last year. She was expecting more. Had a few issues, injury things, but she seems to be after a European record in Valencia. Just the other week, looks to be coming into good shape again, and hopefully she stays healthy as she builds in towards London. People like Jessica Warner-Judd obviously made their debut in New York, which was, I think, sensible. To get a feel for running there. Maybe you don't have to run as quick, and obviously she'll be coming into London now and looking to improve on a 2:24 that she ran in New York. So it's that interest of the top end race, which is very much geared towards weather conditions permitting everything to a world record, and obviously there's a strong British interest as well from behind. So I think and out of those 3-4 internationals mentioned, any of those could take the title again in London or get the world record.
And I guess the question you've got to ask when you look at high level marathoning at the moment is, have you got your photo finish set up? Because we've had some wonderful sprint finishes. And when you mention those elite women, you just think I can just see them all sprinting together towards that finish line.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago when Sifan won. They came around, into the straight and down the mile, all sort of any one of the three could have won. So you're right, and I think you look at some of the recent championship marathons certainly in Tokyo where everyone was dipping for the line. Yeah, I think you've got to get your dip pretty much spot on if you're going to win as well. So yeah, but it'll be interesting. So I think that's a really interesting race, a strong race. I think we've pretty much got everybody there, to be honest. I'm really delighted we've got someone like Hellen Obiri coming to London this year for the very first time, just to really be in that mix as well.
Okay, some very interesting points to pick out there. And the first of them is Spencer saying about they're going to go on world record pace. Now, I think he's talking about women's only world record again. So Tigist Assefa, well, she claimed that last year, 2:15.50. She got that off of Paris Jepchirchir, and then those two had their own little proper battle head to head at the World Championships in Tokyo, where obviously Jepchirchir finished strongly and won in that sprint finish. So we're likely, I think, to see this go again. And
I'd love to see, what was it Paula did? It was 2:15.25. And I think that might still be the course record. And, that I know that's been surpassed and she had male pacemakers that day and this, that and the other one. But, that when they start chipping away at this women's only world record of 2:15.50, I think that'd be quite a nice benchmark as well. I think, that race was phenomenal from Paula. What was it, 2002 or 2003? I think we're getting near to that sort of territory as well.
Okay, so 2 hours, 15 minutes, 50 seconds is that women's only world record set last year. The world record is the 2:09.56, which is set by Ruth Jepchirchir, who's currently serving a ban, of course, and we're waiting to find out the result of a further investigation from the AIU as to some suspicious messages on her phone. And for a lot of people, they look at what's next, just because there's some doubt over that at the moment, and there's no evidence to take that record away from her. So we have to leave it there for now and talk and not really talk about the rights and wrongs about whether it should stand. Tigist Assefa's PB is 2:11.53. That's a former world record from Berlin, 2023 now. Time has really flown by. So we know that she's a fantastic time trialer when she's going for something big. And I think this field are going to push each other. So Jepchirchir's there. She didn't have a great Valencia at the end of last year, but I mean, she has obviously just come off a massive effort from the World Championships in Tokyo, where she beat Assefa. And I think actually we were a little bit surprised on the day, maybe, that Assefa was beaten by Jepchirchir on that final track section of the course, because we had a stadium finish. Assefa, who's got that track pedigree, the former 800-meter runner, but outkicked was interesting. Just the desire, you can see everything, eyes bulging, gasping from the line for Jepchirchir. It was one of those fantastic moments in World Championship history. So you've got those two going head to head, but the fact you throw in someone like Sifan Hassan and Jocelyn Jepchirchir, who no one's going to end up talking about in the build up to this, I can guarantee it's all going to be about those three plus Hellen Obiri and Jepchirchir, who showed that she was in fantastic form herself by winning Valencia at the end of last year. One of the fastest times ever. She's there as a dark horse. And then Hellen Obiri, who's got this famous kick, fantastic track career. She's shown what she can do on these hillier, tougher courses in the US at Boston and New York City, but now having a go at a flatter, faster major marathon. And those athletes are just going to keep on pushing each other to something that I think could be quite special.
I think we've spoken about the men's races being super competitive and these sprint finishes. And I think, I'm quite, we'll talk about the men's tomorrow, but the density of, there's so many men between 2:02 and 2:04 that they are really closely matched. And then they end up having these sprint finishes. And we've looked at the women's marathon and speculated, with that world record being so quick, what have these women got to aim at? They don't think it's possible to run 2:09. They're kind of left in no man's land. But suddenly you've got the second, third, fourth fastest of all time in Sifan Hassan and Jepchirchir, all in one race, with a lot on the line. And I don't know what the critical number is. You probably only need two people through to 23, 24 miles. But when you've got depth like that, and you kind of say, I could really see those three capable of running all the way with each other for the whole distance, and then you add in Jepchirchir, that we know she's in great form, and Hellen Obiri, just this untapped potential in terms of time. She's picked these hillier courses and she's been brilliant in Boston and New York, but to bring her to London, Spencer said it himself, she's going to have to find a couple of minutes if she wants to live with these other women, and I think she will. I think these are 5 tremendous kind of headliners, and it's really hard to choose a favourite. Like, maybe you say Assefa because of that 2:11, but she's been outkicked by Hassan at the Olympics and Jepchirchir at the Worlds, so it's you can't predict it.
No, you can't. And I think that the thing about Obiri is it's really hard to know what her limit is, because she's basically exclusively kept herself to these tougher courses. So her PB is kind of irrelevant in some ways, but her PB is 2:19. Is it?
I thought it was 17, maybe.
2:17:41 is a Boston PB, but her official.
Oh, sure, yes.
Yeah, but a 2:19:51 for New York City Marathon, which she didn't come first in. That was from last year. That's actually her quickest legal time. You can't see if you're taking away Boston, then she's like punching around 2:20.
Yeah.
But she's so much faster than that, and I just wonder what the aura of Hellen Obiri might sort of bring to the rest of the field when it comes to the day. I mean, you're someone, Hannah, who I don't know if you competed. She was sort of nearer the, not too far away from age, and you definitely been at the same championship
compete her
together.
loads. Oh no, I've raced her loads. Yeah,
so
time.
Just tell us then, Hannah, what was the aura of Hellen Obiri like back in your day?
Well, I remember, Sharon
and I wonder
Lacady,
whether that kind of just continues through now.
Well, Sharon Lacady talked about it when we spoke to her in October ahead of them clashing again in New York, and it's just that sort of fear of just knowing she's always there. And I think what I love about Hellen Obiri, the way a track runner coming to the marathon, and it's just she doesn't, to me, she doesn't usually seem to take it on. She's very happy just to sit there, and she makes one very good move, and that's what you need. That's what you need on the track. You can't be kind of mucking around too much. You need one really good move, and so I think for me, Hellen Obiri's brought all those positive attributes of a track runner to the marathon. And then you look at Sifan Hassan, who again a tremendous track runner, but she's kind of not. There's not that calmness. There's not that kind of tactical awareness that you see on the track. To be fair, she didn't really have it on the track either. She just put her foot down and go. I kind of, for me, Hellen Obiri is your absolute classic track runner turned into a marathoner. She brings that patience. You're thinking about the 4K and a 5K. You've just got to be patient. You've just got to hold your nerve, and then you can go in those last couple of laps. She's extrapolated that out to the marathon. So I think she's got to be, to get a bronze at the Olympic Games, she's got to be capable of 2:15. We know that. So it's going to be really fun to kind of see her get a really good time.
No, I know that the money these athletes are getting paid is going to be decent, but she's not going to throw herself into the mix if she doesn't think she can get near that.
No.
Because she knows the level of opposition that she's going to be up against. So someone like Hellen Obiri doesn't need to do that. She could have gone and done Boston again and raced Sharon Lacady again.
And do you think with Hellen Obiri, runs at Boston, runs at New York, runs in that Paris Olympic course that was wild with a massive hill in it, do you reckon she's just like, phew, I'm just going to a normal marathon for once? I could just go and, you don't have to do something quirky in training. You don't have to try and cope with that impact up and down the hills. You could just go run a normal marathon. Like, maybe it's going to be quite fun for her.
But yeah, maybe. And maybe it maybe not winning Boston last year sort of took the pressure off of her in some ways, because that we usually see the Boston champions return, and so she lost to Sharon Lacady. Sharon Lacady's there with, we've said it before in the previous episode, the field isn't as exciting in Boston, I don't think, as what we've seen previously on the women's side, because they're all here.
It kind of makes sense, doesn't it? We were speaking on Sunday when we were looking back on the start of the indoor season, and we were sort of like, okay, if that season Boston, you just wait and see who New York see who London have managed to entice, and it's certainly impressive.
Yeah. So, word on Sifan Hassan. Now, I'm really interested to see what she does this year, and I just think if you look at 2025, you're talking about the chaos of Sifan Hassan, the fun chaos. It's chaos that works. for her. But I mean, last year she just did 3 marathons, which is just sort of not very Sifan
Pretty
Hassan.
dull, yeah.
But I mean, I just sort of wonder actually, because I heard some people talk about this and say like, it was a quiet year by her standards, and it was. But I don't know whether that was necessarily the plan. We haven't really heard too much about what the ideal situation would have been in 2025. Because remember, she was meant to race the mile at the London Diamond League, and she pulled out. And that was only, a month and a bit, 5 or 6 weeks before she was racing Sydney. We looked at it and thought, that is such a weird thing for her to be doing, turn up to the London Diamond League doing a mile when you've only 5-6 weeks out from Sydney. And so it kind of felt like she's thinking about something a bit weird here. She's thinking about going to Tokyo. Do you think she might have been?
Yes, and I think we spoke about it in talking about the Brits and stuff like that. Like, are these athletes trying to really decide what they're doing in LA? Really trying to decide what event they're doing in LA. And Hassan she's already an Olympic champion in this event. She can muck around and decide what to do. So I just wonder if it was a bit of a flit to say, do I want to be back on the track? And she's been very open about saying how hard she finds marathon training, and waking up and saying, "Why you idiot? What are you doing? Why are you doing this yourself?" I love her interviews. And I don't know. I think that shift in plan, sort of in the middle of the summer, and going back to do another 2 marathons after that stopping of the track season. I just wonder if she's kind of gone, right, I've got a window here to really boost my marathon experience. She only debuted in 2023, and she's already up to 6 marathons. A lot of them very, very good. So I think that's an incredible density of marathons sort of once you've moved to it. But do you think, with that being said, do you think she's frustrated because the 3 this year, in 2025, London, Sydney, New York, they weren't that good. And compared to someone that's 3rd on the all-time list and a European record holder, where's her confidence going into this when is she wondering whether her best marathoning was in 2024 and it's not going to be any more going forward?
I don't think anything really knocks Sifan Hassan's confidence. Do you?
Is this like when you guys were saying, "With Faith Kipyegon, be nervous for the sub 4," and I was like, whatever. Yeah. And then she was. She
was, yeah. But I think she sort of taught through all the reasonings for last year's finishes. So 3rd in London, she thought she didn't do enough prep. Maybe thought about doing a half marathon. She didn't do one. I'm wondering whether she might do one this time. She sort of floated that idea of, I just saw everyone else. They all sort of had a really good sharpener and I didn't. And I just wonder whether we might see her pop up somewhere. Then she won Sydney in August and went for broke too early. Yes. and said she won, but she said she nearly paid for it. And Bridget Kosgei wasn't that far behind. She had a big gap, but wasn't that far behind by the end. I mean, nothing to worry about, but I mean, the gap has significantly closed. And then 6th in New York. I mean, it wasn't that long after Sydney, and it's a tough course. Sydney is a tough course. It would have taken a lot out of her as well. I mean, Sydney, having commentated on all these races, I know people will say that Boston and New York is tricky, but Sydney looks really, really tough. It's really up and down. There's barely any moments to really get into a proper rhythm. So it would have taken a lot out of her, and she struggled. She really struggled to keep up with the rest. So no, I don't think she's coming back to a place where she's had success in the past.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think she'll be well up for this. I'm really interested to see what her prep is for this.
Yeah, and no, I think you're right. That's very good points on those runs this year and 2025, and so maybe that's sort of a recce. She was just building her experience, taking different stuff. So I'm wondering, you're running London. 14 miles ish. What is it, around the embankment? You might get to see this group come back out. Will you be having a really good day or a really bad day if you bump into these guys on the embankment? I thought you should work out. I was trying to do the maths. I was like, you should be on about 14 miles. They'll be on 21.
Do you mean like around Tower Bridge, that kind of bit?
Yeah,
over there.
They get a half-hour head start. I was kind of thinking, I wonder if you'd be able to look up and see these guys going on the other side, and what could you learn? If you see them at 21 miles, do you expect them all to be there?
What can you learn? Just not very good.
Yeah. They get a half-hour start. This is what you're going to get chipped by this lot anyway. Let's be honest.
I just want to mention some of the others as well, because we obviously all the focus is on the main athletes. We've already mentioned Jepchirchir, but Megetu Alamu is due a little bit of a revival. Didn't have a really good season last year. She won Valencia in 2024. Expected big things from her. She got second in Chicago in October, which was decent. But she's already started this season with a DNF in China in Xiamen, in Xiamen. But she'd also had a DNF like a month ago in Shenzhen in China. So there's something going on there with Alamu that is a little bit concerning. When you're looking at 2 marathons in a space of basically a month and 2 DNFs. And Tigist Assefa as well, who was second in 2021. But to be honest, the form that she's shown since then doesn't give you much to sort of think that she's going to do a lot here, especially with that field. But it could happen. She's sort of someone that's sort of lurking, and someone that's not going to be like competing near the top end. But I think we should still mention her because we did mention her at the top of this episode is Julia Patternine. I think because she hasn't had this big major marathon experience or as an elite, having completely just come from seemingly nowhere to win bronze at the World Championships. That surprise bronze, you've all seen it. You've all seen the shock face, that not knowing that she'd finished third. But we don't know what she's really capable of either, because again, the courses that she's been on are a little bit tougher, and so I think she's going to get, at the very least, a really big welcome in London, and she can treat it as a bit of a home race as well, hopefully. And she's got the memories of the mini marathon from before, and I guess she'll probably be in one of the packs. And I don't know what she's going to aim for, but she'll be one of the sort of pacing packs which have a lot of the Brits in.
So her PB is 2:27, isn't it? And like you say, like not super experienced in major marathons. I think 12 months ago, Julia Patternine would have bet your hand off to get in any of the World Marathon Majors. And her life's changed so much since that run in Tokyo. And I think what I'll be waiting for, Spencer alluded to it, he's got to go away and talk to all the managers and all the agents and all the athletes and make these pacing groups. And that's one of my favourite bits as you lead into that event, is getting that email with a table on who's gone in which group. And you're trying to read into that. Do they think they're going to have a big second half? And we know that worked for Patternine in Tokyo, that she could close very strongly. But she's going to have some wonderful company out there on the roads from the fans and from the athletes around her. So I'm absolutely delighted. Like I say, to have full podiums is so fun. So to have Patternine here in the groups, just a bit of fun. She's a bit of a wild card, isn't she? You don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, she's a world medalist. You can't argue with that.
This is why we'll have a preview close to the time where we'll get a little bit more of an insight as to what they're all going for. And of course, depends on what happens over the next 12 weeks or so with training. And it depends what the weather's going to be like on a day as well.
I know. She got Tokyo conditions in London. And
yeah, it's not likely.
It was pretty bad last year, wasn't it?
It was warm.
Yeah,
it was warm.
It was deceivingly warm, wasn't it?
Okay, let's wrap it there. We have one more day of announcements to come. The men's international field will be with you tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Until then, though, bye for now.